So today I'm going to share with you a thought that has challenged me this week, and I'm also going to show you an object lesson that I did for my Bible lesson at school yesterday, which was a good reminder to me, and an easy meal. I'm very busy at the moment. I'm not home a lot, and so I've tried to keep meals as simple as possible. So I'll show you one meal that is very quick and easy to make. I'm making this meal tonight. It's a good one to have in the cupboard for busy days. You don't need to get anything out of the freezer or out of the fridge. So you use 2 cups of pasta, a tin of tuna, and then you cook the pasta, put it all together, put cheese over the top, and it is a dish you can put peas and corn in as well, veggies. It's a nice and easy one. So I've talked many times about obedience to God and obeying God, and last week when I talked about success, I said that success is obeying God. But this week I was reading a devotional, and it was about being passionate, and I'll read some of the things that it said. It's not enough just to say, I've obeyed the Lord. You must obey Him wholeheartedly. I think it's very important to obey God, and obedience is very important, but it's not enough just to obey God, because we can obey God and yet not do it wholeheartedly or not do it with a perfect heart. And sometimes in the Bible, when it talked about kings, it would say that a king did what was right in the sight of the Lord, but not with a perfect heart. And so obedience is important, but we also need to do it with all of our hearts as well. And sometimes that's hard. Obeying is one thing, but obeying with a perfect heart is another thing. And I think maybe one of the reasons why is that it's not always easy to obey God. And if you think of Mary, she sacrificed what was very expensive to her, the ointment that she poured on Jesus. She, gave up what was most precious to her to Jesus. And the people that were watching just said, oh, what a waste. They thought she was stupid for doing that. She didn't really get a reward in that way, but Jesus was pleased with her. And we need to remember that what we do, we need to do it for God, because if we are doing it with a right heart for Him, then He will be pleased. Even if everybody else misunderstands or judges us or thinks we're wasting our time or our money or whatever. And Colossians 3 verse 23 and 24 says, and whatsoever ye do, do it heartily, as to the Lord and not unto men, knowing that of the Lord ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for ye serve the Lord Christ. So the challenge to me and the challenge to you is to obey God, but make sure you do it with a good heart, wholeheartedly for God and not for men. What I meant about Mary is that sometimes obedience to God has a sacrifice, and so it can usually cost us something. So it's one thing to obey, it's another thing to do it cheerfully and not resentful of whatever it is that we have to sacrifice. So for my object lesson yesterday, we were just studying the story of Joseph. So we've been learning about Jacob, and it's quite interesting. I don't think I've really studied that story before. Jacob made lots of mistakes, but what meant the most to him was God's promises. He really valued God's promises. So there's a lesson in us. There's a lesson for us in that we should value what is most important. So anyway, for the story of Joseph, the memory verse I was going to teach them was Romans 8:28. We know that all things work together for good to them that love God. So before I introduce the memory verse and this story, I did this. So I had all these cake ingredients in this dark bag, so they couldn't see what was in there. So this is a very easy chocolate cake recipe, and I will link it down below. I'm sure I've shared it before, but it is very simple and easy, and it is dairy-free as well. So I had all these ingredients in the bag, and I told them they needed to guess what ingredients go into my chocolate cake. And as they guessed the right ones, I pulled them out. So on the table we had all these ingredients out. So we got baking soda, cocoa, vanilla, water, oil, flour, sugar, and white vinegar. Then I got into think about which ingredients are not nice. So we took away all the ingredients that was not nice. So like baking soda is not nice on its own. Cocoa is very bitter. Oil is disgusting by itself. Flour is not nice to eat on its own. Vinegar is not nice. And there's a bit of an argument about whether vanilla is nice or not. So anyway, we just left that in. So all we had left was water and sugar. So if you take all the yuck ingredients out, all you have left is water, sugar, and maybe vanilla. And one of the girls said, you can't make a cake with water and sugar. And so yeah, then I introduced the verse and I got them to try to think about what the verse had to do with this object lesson. And some of the kids could figure it out. So anyway, the point is that to get a nice chocolate cake, you need all these not nice ingredients. And so in our lives too, if we only had the things that we find nice, for God to do something good in our lives, it's going to include the things that we don't like so much, the things that are not so nice. And if I chose everything in my life, I would only choose the good things too. But we would miss out on the beautiful things that God wants to do in our lives. So it's best to let Him choose, let Him work everything out, and to just obey and trust in Him, and then He will do something great and something good. But if we choose everything and take away anything that's not good to us or not nice, then we don't have the big beautiful picture like what God does when we trust in Him to work everything out. So when we think of our trials as being necessary ingredients, like in the cake, we are able to thank God for them, because even though we don't like them, they have a good purpose, and we would miss out on things without them. And one more neat thing from the story of Joseph that I saw as I was preparing the lesson is that when his brothers sold him, they said, let's see what will become of his dreams now. They thought by sending him to Egypt, that was the end of his dreams, and that they've never come true. And yet what they didn't realize was that going to Egypt was the way that his dreams were going to come true. So, what may seem like the end of our dreams to us may be the way that God is going to fulfill those dreams and desires. So the things that happen in our lives that may seem kind of hindrances may be the very things that God uses to get us where He wants us to be.